Morning, everybody. Hopefully I can walk around without annoying everybody with feedback and you can hear me okay. So Steve had asked me to talk about, Steve and the rest of the crew, emergency vehicle preemption. So I wanted to do something a little differently. How's the feedback? All right. I think most people here have heard of optical preemption and GPS preemption. So GPS preemption has been around for a long time. Optical's been around for a long time. Most of the area is saturated with optical GPS. However, one of the things that has been exposed through the build grant is a lot of communities do not have any preemption whatsoever. So I went with that tact to come up with, I don't know, what, is the volume too high on this?
No, it's not a volume, but I'm gonna get personal here. Let's try this.
Okay.
All right, see if
All
that
right, we'll
helps.
try that. So I thought about the $20+ million so far that has spent in Maine on the build grant, which is one of the most significant, best investments I think we've had in the region ever. The state of Maine has, I believe, one of the best infrastructures now for transportation in the country because of the build grant. And so I looked at the build grant, I looked at the acronym, better utilizing investments to leverage development. And I thought about that for a minute, and I thought about all the equipment that went in, brand new ATC cabinets, advanced video and radar detection systems, Glance, now MainLink, with all their opportunities and potential. There's a lot out there. So what I did was I looked at the GPS side of it. And one of the things that I really like about GPS, and it's been proven in many areas, is the fact that not only is it not affected by weather, you don't have to clean the receivers, you don't have to install receivers, cables, you're not going to have cables that are eaten by mice and things of that nature. But also, it does more than just line of sight preemption. If you're in an urban environment and an emergency vehicle needs to take a left turn, they put the left turn directional on. When they're coming up to a light, that light gets preempted, and the next set of lights down gets preempted at the same time. Not only that, but the GPS systems will track the rate of speed of the vehicle, and it'll give it an ETA of when it's going to arrive to the intersection. So instead of blasting an emitter that has the lights green constantly, it calculates the most efficient use of that preemption system. And if there's traffic up ahead, the system sees that by way of knowing that the speed of the vehicle has been reduced. So it will preempt the lights faster. So it will adjust that. You're not worrying about curvatures of the road, the geometry of the road, line of sight, all of that different stuff. So the next slide I've got, this is how the GPS system works. Maybe I'll try over here. So it works in two methods. It starts out through cellular, and then as you get closer, it'll pick up an FM signal, on the 900 megahertz frequency. The FM signal is not only a backup, but it's also a confirmation. And inside Glance, we can see, with MainLink, we can see which ones are active. Are they both active? Is one active? If not, then we can make adjustments as needed. It's extremely reliable. It's been around for a long time. The problem has been the saturation of optical and the reluctance of communities to change to GPS. So in communities that have no preemption whatsoever, and I'm working with a couple right now, the cost to that community is significantly reduced to get preemption because of the fact that by the good nature of the state of Maine and the Federal Highway Administration, we have all of this new equipment just sitting at the intersection. So it's just simply a matter of putting onboard units, OBUs, into the emergency vehicles. Now, the second safety factor that I really appreciate about a GPS system is it will account for the speed that a police cruiser travels at. That's one of the problems with optical preemption, is that cruisers simply go too fast when they're responding. Anything over 35 miles per hour is usually not enough time for line of sight to activate that green. If it's GPS based, it will calculate the speed and it will respond. So it will work in police cruisers. So I went into one community thinking, you know, the fire department has 6 pieces of equipment. You know, they'll really like this because they have no preemption, they want to get preemption. So we met with the police department and the fire department. Well, instead of 6 pieces of equipment, we now have 19 pieces of equipment in a community that will get preemption. And to me, that is significant because any amount of time that we can shave off of a run is life-saving. And it can be life-saving in the form of a heart attack, domestic violence, anything, building burning, whatever, you know, a violent crime being committed. So any time that we can shave off, and it's estimated that it can shave off probably between 10 to 15 seconds per intersection. Well, if you're going through 6 intersections, that's a minute. I'll tell you right now, if I'm having a heart attack, I want that ambulance there a minute sooner. And if it's my family members or somebody I know or anybody, I want that ambulance there a minute sooner to start the procedures to save that person's life. I had another thought, and I'm having a senior moment. Oh, yeah, I know what it is. One of the things I want to say, because I know there's a lot of people sitting here right now saying, wow, we got all this optical stuff. I'm not saying throw the baby out with the bathwater. The change to GPS is going to be generational. And I mean that. I won't see it. I'll never see a complete changeover. But there's people in this room, younger technicians and engineers, they may see 50 to 75% changeover, but not 100%. Because the systems are still out there. You have concerns for mutual aid, which can be mitigated. So if you have an agency that wants to be able to still respond to mutual aid and go to communities and use the optical, just keep the strobe on the equipment. That's all you really need to do. And over time, the transition to the GPS base can happen. So we're not saying throw the baby out with the bathwater on this. Just one more little diagram of how everything works. So the signal goes from the piece of equipment. It's picked up by the FMU. You don't need to have a roadside unit. So any cabinet that's out there that has an FMU in it, an 085 is the model number, it will do preemption. So it doesn't have to have the roadside unit, but you do need the onboard unit in the piece of equipment. So that's the dead zone. So before I get into ending with a short video, any questions? Yes?
So how are you, and I know it's not necessarily an issue in Maine, but like some of these bigger cities where you get the urban canyons.
Yes.
You know, how's the GPS with that? Do you have plans to be able to integrate future PNT technologies, you know, ground-based? And then you mentioned about the 900 megahertz, you know, comlink. Any potential plans if NextNav petition goes through and we lose that lower 900 megahertz ability?
So I don't believe 900 megahertz is going anywhere. There's so much of it around.
You read up on NextNav then?
No, I understand. I know what you're saying, but I don't think it's going anywhere. There's a lot of equipment already deployed. But to the first part of your question about the urban canyons, it's GPS based through cellular.
Okay.
So it's not as if the antenna's communicating directly to a satellite.
So the GPS chipsets in the onboard units have got 3 different GPS satellites that we connect to, and then it's got an internal gyroscope. And the internal gyroscope will continue to track vehicles in urban canyons with 30 feet of accuracy over every 1,000 feet. So it's using dead reckoning basically to track the vehicle. So that's the GPS chipsets. The GPS chipset are the same things that are going into like these autonomous driving vehicles. So that keeps you in that sort of area, because you do lose GPS when you go into tunnels, the urban canyons and all the rest. But when you've got the dead reckoning technology in it, you never lose it. Well, you lose accuracy, but then as soon as it gets the satellites again, it re-establishes its position. And then what's quite cool with Maine is it's actually got 3 different radios. It's got the cellular radios, it's got 900 megahertz radio, and it's got the CD2X, the 5.9 gigahertz. So what it does is whichever message comes in first, that's what it processes. So if it first comes through on cellular, which is generally the case, because you're further away, process that. But when you get closer to a signal, it's either coming through the CD2X messages or the 900 megs. And that just provides that redundancy.
Yeah, there's a lot of fail-safe there. You know, one of the things that Applies does very, very well is they look at a lot of different scenarios, and I forget exactly what Peter was talking about yesterday. I think it might have been pedestrian safety, but they think of these things, and they're not going to put a system out there if they're not confident in the reliability of it. So there are multiple avenues for that signal to get back to the equipment and to get to the signals. And the FM radios, you know, they do still work very well. So that's a great backup, and it's a redundancy there too. So there's a lot there. Any other questions? Yes.
So with optical preemption, provided there's no coding, a Tomar strobe can be received by an Opticom receiver. You know, an M-Track, they're all interoperable. Obviously, you represent Glance and Applied Information, but if for whatever reason the municipality goes with a different GPS vendor's technology, is there work being done to ensure interoperability on the technological layer so that another vendor's onboard unit can talk to another vendor's roadside unit? Because right now, the state of Maine really favors Glance and AI. Glance and AI could go away. They could be acquired. They could go a direction the state doesn't want. They could kill the service altogether. Is there portability being thought of and integrated into this technology in the same way that optical can now?
Sure, that's a great Peter question.
Yeah. So I mean, you think about optical, the first time that Tomar could work with GTT was actually when the patent finished, 25 years later after that patent came in. So originally, if you bought a GTT or a 3M system, no one else could actually work with that, because that protocol that they had there was a patent and you couldn't use it. So now, for instance, on our side, we've also taken that protocol from GTT and applied it. We've got a translator card that we can actually understand it. CV2X communication with the OVUs does have a standard. It's called J2735. There's a SSM, signal service message, and an SRM, signal request message for preemption and priority. So that works on that level. No one's doing anything on the cellular side yet to send it up to a server to basically bring it down. In other words, the local radio side, but you run into the same kind of problems that you have with any line of sight. Radios are line of sight technology because you've got those distances. So there's no one doing the cellular side, but there are other providers that are providing that in. So it's becoming more and more synonymous in the industry, but there's no real standard for the cellular side yet. There's a standard for the local radio side, and we're a standards company. I mean, that's why we have to integrate to every single traffic signal controller and all the rest. So when that standard gets produced, NEMA comes up with a new one or whatever it is, then we just add that standard in there. But a lot of manufacturers, so we're working with there's Haas Alerts, for instance, that's providing positions of where the EMT vehicles are. But there's no standard on that. That's an integration that we've got to bring in with whatever their protocol is. Wheelan is doing their own thing, but it's their own standard. There's no national standard. So everybody's doing their own little thing, and it's another little integration point. I wish everything was standardized, but it isn't. So that's kind of the role that we've got to sort of do is just, and you can't force all these companies to go and comply with whatever standard you want them to comply with, because they do it themselves.
And I'd like to just emphasize what Peter said yesterday about Applied being Switzerland. I have never sent in a request for a piece of equipment to be integrated with this system, and they've said no. And I've never heard of that happening. I've been to their lab down in Alpharetta by Atlanta a couple of times, and their lab is absolutely amazing. It is a traffic signal geeks playground. They have every controller down there. They have stuff that I didn't even know about: video detection, pedestrian actuation, security systems, all integrated, and they're 100% vendor manufacturer agnostic.
I do want to say this: if anyone's coming to ITS World Congress, which is in Atlanta this year, it's the biggest show. It only happens every 2 years in the United States. Come down, visit our facility. We're going to have tours around there the whole time. So, and it's pretty cool because you can play with every single traffic controller. It's all independent.
Yeah.
And every video detection system out there, it's all in the lab. So you can kind of get your hands dirty on those things. So everyone's invited.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Highly encourage you if you're going down there.
As long as the manufacturer, so you've got all these different manufacturers, and they all have their own protocol, right, of how their system works. As long as they provide an API to your system, then you can integrate that. And so it's like, so anyone who's, if you're worried about all the different manufacturers, as long as they provide that to you, you then have to take their API, you translate it to yours, and so you can bring it. It's like an octopus. Everyone's API can go to yours, and so you can work with anything as long as they provide you their an API.
Correct. And most people are very open with that, especially when it's a big project, providing an API. And we're not trying to do what we don't do a video detection system, and we don't do traffic controllers. And we are seen as independent.
Hey, thank you. Can I steal 7 more minutes?
So at the end of the day, the mission of the fire department is one thing, and that's to serve our people. Our old Opticom system was prohibiting us from getting to where we needed to be in a timely manner. I'm Mark Hooley. I'm the Assistant Chief assigned to Emergency Services for the Nashua Fire Rescue. Nashua Fire Rescue is the second largest fire department in the state of New Hampshire. We're situated right in the Massachusetts border. We respond out of 6 fire stations. We run 6 engine companies, 3 ladder companies, and a deputy chief as a shift commander. Our city is spread out pretty wide. It's about 40 square miles. We respond to, on average, about 12,000 emergencies. Our main street is a very busy area. There's a lot of restaurants, a lot of business going on. It is very, very difficult to clear the traffic in all directions. Our solution for emergency response, the city of Nashua for a long time ran an Opticom line of sight system. So I saw for 20 years how that system was declining. We're a very old city, so our ability to maintain line of sight year-round is pretty much non-existent because we have a lot of tree growth of trees that have been in the city for 100+ years that we protect. And as you're driving down some of our streets in the middle of the summer, that growth really prohibits us from having line of sight. The complaints that we were fielding on a regular basis from our companies that were responding continued to grow to the point where the Opticom system no longer was a benefit for us. It was really becoming a liability. If it worked, it was a good day. But in all likelihood, we didn't really anticipate that the Opticom would allow us to control the intersection.
The old Opticom stuff we had been using, starting to be obviously getting old and unreliable, but very expensive. For the last 10 years or so, we've got every month a punch list from the emergency services. Say we've been through these 12 or 15 intersections and this direction didn't work for us, and that's very time consuming. It started getting to a point like, well, what do you want us to fix this month until...
It was a real burden on the traffic department. Our budget got tapped considerably over the years as the fire department didn't necessarily have the personnel to support that infrastructure.
We all knew it was an issue, and the city conducted a master plan, and within the master plan was a whole bunch of time and effort spent on our response times and how we can better improve them. So when we were going through the process of determining what traffic preemption system we needed to use, the redundancy system that Glance brought to us was really important to us. Recently, we suffered a cellular outage in our country in which nobody was able to communicate, and some of the programs that are out there are cellular based. And that would be great if the cellular system was always working, but you can see that it can quickly get overrun sometimes, and we lost it. We have a lot of areas in our city on our 800 megahertz radio system that works really, really well, but we also know that there's parts of our city where the 800 megahertz radio system isn't gonna work. So if we took that ideology from our portable radios and overlaid that with our traffic preemption needs, that's really where that redundant aspect of Glance really made them stand out better than everybody else.
Any system at any time could be damaged. An antenna could go bad, anything can happen, right? So having redundancy in any system, especially a safety critical system, is very important.
In the fire service, redundancy is vitally important. Being able to have a backup to backups is ensuring that we're going to be successful in our endeavors. And one of those things is life safety. You don't get a second chance. So knowing that we had a system that both had radio and cellular and using most up-to-date technology provided us with a solution that was ideal.
Whether our cellular service was down or our radio system was down, we knew that one of those systems was going to allow us to get us the preemption. And since we put the system online, it's been about 8 months, I can count on one hand how many questions we've had from our companies. I guess I could put it best this way. The senior member of our department has been here for 38 years. He's been a chief officer for 15, so it takes a little bit to impress him. About a week after Glance being on the line, he came back and said, "Well, that's an incredible system."
So firefighters are very apt to give you feedback when things are wrong, and the feedback coming from this is all positive. The reports coming back, there was some fine tuning initially, but now we're rocking and rolling.
Literally was just turning a switch. After we had done our testing and preemption approaches and so forth, and did the little bit of tweaking that we had to do, we found a product that was just way more than what we expected.
This technology is so smart, it understands where you're going, it understands that the blinker is on. It starts clearing out the traffic for you. You're not even on the road yet, so that when you take that turn, your traffic pattern is clear. It also gives you the ability to start gauging the speed of the truck, so as you're approaching the traffic incident, you have your safe working spot, but all the other traffic can kind of clear out from where you are.
We knew we were going to be taking a very big jump in technology, but I honestly thought it was too good to be true until we started seeing it put in place. And when the system was placed in service, the members utilizing it in the field day in and day out are big fans.
The only complaint we've ever had is that we didn't have it 10 years before. Being able to use the Glance software not only was user intuitive, it was also just self-evident that it was going to be a powerful tool in how we respond and how we handle our emergency responses in the city. We found out that one, we had amazing insight as to where our apparatus was second by second. Being able to watch and be able to make decisions as to who should respond to events using that information was very powerful. But also the fact that being able to see and use the analytics to know how the intersections were responding to the apparatus that were coming through was a whole new insight that we didn't have before.
It removes an angst, it removes something from your plate. It gives you a satisfaction knowing that I am giving our members the best tool that is available to go out there and do their job every day safely and efficiently.
As a leader in the public works field, we're all about service. Working with the fire department to bring this new technology to them to make them more effective in what they do in serving residents, that was really rewarding for us. It's great to be in a community that is adopting these new technologies and implementing them where they make sense. Working with Ocean State's been great. They were a great partner in this project, implementing this new system. It's been everything that was promised. It was implemented as promised. They were a great partner in the process.
We have a long working relationship with Ocean State Signal, and it's been great. I think it's been around 20 years. The installation for this went extremely smooth. We got to have our own personnel on site so they could see how the installation was done. They were familiar with the components. They were competent to troubleshoot and replace them as a result of that, so we couldn't be happier.
We had this immediate need to address the emergency preemption, but We're also looking to the future. We're looking at connected vehicles, transit, preemption for our plow trucks and that sort of thing. So yeah, having a system that met that need today, but that was scalable for the future and our future growth into the additional technologies was really important to us.
At the end of the day, we have one mission when we come here, and that is to get to the people that need us. Having the ability to have a technology help us get there in a safe manner so that we can provide the service that we need to our citizens is invaluable.
I just want to end on one note. So, from scratch, doing a side-by-side comparison of the cost of optical and GPS, GPS is less expensive. However, because the state of Maine has been so progressive in deploying the infrastructure at the intersections, the amount for communities to get the emergency vehicle preemption is significantly reduced. There are communities right now that are using transit signal priority, snow plow priority, with all low priority stuff. So the upgrade to an emergency preemption system is not a big leap at all. We're around today and tomorrow. I know Peter and Karen are still going to be here. If you have any questions, please reach out to us and give us a call or drop us a line. Any last questions? Well, thank you, and I apologize for going into the break.